The essence of adventure is the journey itself. It's what every wise old traveller will try to tell you, and I think through experience we can all agree with this sentiment. With adventure being a defining part of fantasy, this idiom sets apart the greats from piles of mediocrity. But what exactly does that look like in anime? Frieren is not the first to feature side quests, or to create a dramatic sense of scale for a world that is not our own. Yet it stands as a masterpiece that we all love. Look, I consider Frieren to be an outlier compared to most anime this decade. I don't exactly like using mouse scores to illustrate a point, but I mean, clearly people love Frieren. It has held the top spot fighting off any competition, and I will say it is probably in my personal top 15. But irrespective of where it is on that list, I actually respect it so much for being everything that it is in present day. Like the name of the anime suggests, Frieren starts at a journey's end. As a character, Frieren is introduced as a wise elf who has had the prior experience of defeating the Demon King. That brings with it a high level of magical skill and understanding of the world's geography. Yet, as she embarks with her new partner Frieren, it becomes clear that, even with her long life, there's still many things she doesn't understand about herself and others. It may seem initially that this is simply down to a lack of appreciation for the power of time, but as the story progresses, it becomes clear there's more to it.
どうしたの?
Frieren's main connection to the wider world comes from her prior 10-year quest, which she finds herself repeating in a similar manner. As that unfolds, Frieren has revelations and reflects on both past and present. It makes her character so much more interesting as an anchor in a fantasy story. The second season OP is a pretty great visualization of this. That alone is something that I think most series would not dedicate enough time to actually pull off properly. It is so refreshing to present a character's dynamic development in this way. Frieren has lived for over a millennium, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a sense of permanence perfection like most other old anime characters. She still finds herself getting stunned, getting into trouble, and learning new things she thought she had a firm understanding of. A great example is the impact of Stark, and to a lesser extent, Sign, on the party as they travel together. Both characters have an impact on her frame of the world that lasts. It is a level of characterization that you just don't see often. Something also worth mentioning is the flashbacks to her original trip through the land with her old party. They are not just a point of reflection in Frieren's present, they are a direct way to learn more about the characters that we witnessed at the start of the series. The fact that these flashbacks continued into the second season definitely cemented that for me. They are not just ghosts in a distant memory. You are effectively getting to experience two timelines with a wonderful character that bridges both. That dual narrative structure is ambitious, and frankly, it feels like modern anime is increasingly unlikely to pull something like this off well. I'm not saying anime is getting worse, bangers like Frieren prove otherwise, but if you look at the attempts of most new productions, it seems to me that safe choices perhaps have become what to expect from most of the seasonal lineup. When almost everything is played safe, the medium starts to feel stagnant as a whole. In fact, as I was writing this video, news came out that one of the anime industry titans, Toho, has plans to make 30 anime a season by 2032. Putting aside the obvious that this will strain resources and most likely lower the overall quality at the expense of underpaid staff, do you think this approach is going to increase the number of masterpiece anime? No, it won't, obviously, because a great production is more than a good story or good animation or any single element alone. To be honest, it is more about having a firm direction and quality to back that up. It takes planning as well as execution. That is the fundamentals of how to get amazing slow burn fantasy like Frieren. And I just don't think anime prioritizes good fundamentals in its current state of endless churn. That being said, I don't think Frieren is a miracle. It just does everything right, and that's not impossible to repeat. I want to go back to my point about Frieren's narrative, that it can balance two approaches well, because that is also true in a different sense. Specifically, the anime has episodes that stand as fairly self-contained stories. Perhaps the crew is carrying out a small job or doing a sort of laid-back side quest. This is great for building the characters as a whole, giving them both their likable traits and quirks.
私は魔法に人生の大半を捧げてきた。
私もです。
But then you also have the connected bursts of episodes designed to hit you with excellent pacing, breathtaking animation, and thrilling moments. Possibly my favourite example of this is the party's first test against a group of demons. Each character of the group is tasked with taking down an individual enemy that leads to distinct strategies and challenges arising. For Stark, he fights a demon capable of mimicking the fighting style of anything they observe. That presents quite a challenge because the demon just needs to adapt during a fight and follow the flow to an easy victory. Amongst the styles she understands is Stark's former master, which he recognises as they brawl it out. But during the course of the fight, he identifies a flaw in the system that the demon uses to dominate in combat. That being that it is merely an imitation. The attacks do not have the determined power that is central to how Stark's master trained him. Being aware of that, he delivers a final blow and overcomes the demon. While this is happening, Frieren is fighting the figurehead of the demon entourage, using pure magical power and skill to dominate against a demon that is trying to be smart and wait for a weak point. Of course, Frieren was trained by the best, so that doesn't ever happen. I point this episode out because I want to highlight that it is a pretty non-standard presentation of powerful enemies. The most common way to present something like this is a back and forth, where it looks like one side is winning against the other until the good guy finally wins. That is not how Frieren chooses to go about it. Much more creatively, it shows the source of Stark and Frieren's strength, how they differentiate from each other, and how that translates in practice. It is just objectively better than how most anime would go about an episode like this. Then you add on the fact that the animation is crisp and the soundtrack could not be any more of a perfect pairing in this exciting moment. I mean, you can see why the show is singled out as a masterpiece.
では、その場合の作戦は
That is really why I think Frieren is special. Pick anything about it, it does it well, even the more difficult aspects. Take the OST as an example, whether you are looking for intense battle music that epitomizes fantasy grandeur, or a peaceful village ambience that I imagine one would listen to during a D&D campaign or something, Frieren has it all. It is an OST that I am happy to listen to again and again. When I do, I relive the moments that I remember from the anime. But more so than that, it's just good. I find that even for anime I really like, I might find myself playlisting a couple of tracks, but the times in which the entire soundtrack is worthy of listening to is rare. So, to conclude, Frieren should be placed on a golden throne as anime fantasy at its finest. I think it needs to be so that hopefully the people that make anime understand that we love this stuff. Think about the period between the first and second season of Frieren. We are talking about almost 2 years, and I can count on my fingers the amount of S-tier anime that have come out in that time. Which, when you consider the amount of anime that has been produced, there is an imbalance in where the industry's resources are going. I get it, narratives are subjective, and a few people will disagree with me when I say that anime deserves and needs to do better, but I hope that at the very least I've made it clear why Frieren is a pretty perfect idol for the rest of anime. Make stuff with care and appreciation, because at the end of the day, this has always been what separates average media from the greats. I love watching anime, I don't want shows like Frieren to be only a once-a-year occurrence, or perhaps even less than that. It's not up to me, so this video is the best I can do. Thank you for watching, I've been Russ, and have a great night or day.